Because I thought, oh my God, I love vegetables. Like, how could I ever give up my salads? How could I ever give up? But I felt a million times better. It made reaching my aesthetic goals each year for competition so much easier. It just takes out all these variables. You have a solid baseline to go off of. And then any changes, and this is the key with bodybuilding, any little changes in your body, you have to be an investigator. You need to know what is happening with your body at any given time, particularly that last week and the day of the show. You need to know if you do anything out of the ordinary, how it might impact your body. And Carnivore makes that a breeze. The way this lifestyle, the way that it improves absolutely everything, mental, physical, emotional, all emotional if you're willing to go there, because you can still, but if you're willing and you're open, this can be the gateway. This lifestyle can be the gateway to everything, to your optimal health. Hello, Lionesses.
Hey, welcome, Coach Nat. We are so excited to have you this evening. Thanks for being on the show. If you could please tell our audience about yourself, your health journey, and all the way up to finding the ketogenic lifestyle, your coaching, everything about you, please. We'd love to get to know you.
Oh my goodness, how much time do you have?
An hour, Nat, an hour.
But Cristie knows I can go on and on. It's awesome to be in the den with you ladies. I think that was the coolest intro I've ever seen anywhere before.
Thank you.
Lioness, it's pretty badass. I don't know if I can say that here, but hopefully I can. My journey. Let's just say I went from sad and stressed out to more than surviving, thriving in my dream body, optimal wellness, in a state where I can just kind of focus on optimizing. So personally, I healed a lot of chronic health conditions that I had in my mid-20s. And now I'm 41, feeling and looking better than I ever imagined I could on a day-to-day basis. It really started a journey of self-discovery and as any of us know, when you've been in a relationship for a long time, married or not, you kind of lose yourself. Who am I? Who am I without this person? And I was 28 and rediscovering who I was in my career, in my personal life, in my faith life, in my spiritual life, and all of that, going through that healing process, dating myself, reading the books, spending time. Essentially, it's kind of interesting. It all comes full circle, but many years later, after going through all the physiological things I did, it came back to the spiritual and the emotional. And a lot of that is at the core and the center of what I do in my work now with women today. But it was this time where I could just spend time with myself and get to know myself again, and really delve into the things that had created a lot of the problems in my body. The stress and the emotional turmoil manifests in our physical body if we don't take care of it. And it's something that I've seen. It doesn't matter. You can fix the food, you can fix the lifestyle, you can get all of those habits in check, and you can still have stuff you haven't dealt with that then is creating all kinds of strife in your physical body. And boy, women's bodies of all are incredibly sensitive to that. So that's really where it all began. And that just kind of led me to seeing myself as valuable and believing that my worth did not come from external possessions and titles and career and who I am in a relationship and all of these other external validation. And seeing my intrinsic value was what made me start to really care about what I put in my body, which is kind of crazy when I think back, because the first couple of years of my journey, I lost about 30 pounds. I mean, I'm a tiny human being. I'm barely 5 feet tall. I claim 5 feet tall, but I'm barely 5 feet tall. Always been this small person, but curvy. Okay, I'm Greek and Italian. We ate and we ate good. growing up. We ate good in terms of good foods, but we also ate good. We ate a lot of food. And of course, I grew up in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, where things became about convenient food. So I ate a lot of TV dinners and a lot of after school cookies and milk and just all the things, all the things. And so I developed a pretty poor relationship with the food and my body from very young, probably the age of 12 or so. So I actually became bulimic before I became a teenager and then struggled with that all the way through college for the most part. It was my junior year of college when I stopped binging and purging, and then fell in love in my 20s, got a desk job. I grew up as a dancer, so I wasn't like the 2-year-old ballet class all the way from then. It was a little bit later than most ballerinas. So I never went to conservatory, but I did major in dance, in arts management with a focus in dance. So I was in the studio. I cared a lot about what my body looked like. I would try to find the skinny part of the mirror. Ballet mirrors are like funhouse mirrors. Certain places you could stand and you would look slimmer than others. And this is the obsession from a young age. So it was falling in love and getting into that toxic relationship where I started putting weight on because I was sedentary, working a desk job. We were going out to dinner a lot, eating the things. And when that all fell apart was when I realized just how sick I was. And had been, when I looked back, most of my life. From a young child, I always had stomach problems. And back then we never knew anything about gluten. There really weren't even that many food allergies back then. I mean, maybe peanuts was like the one thing in schools as kids that you have to worry about, but you never heard about any of that stuff. So I went to all kinds of doctors growing up. I wore an acid monitor when I was 16 because I got diagnosed with GERD and I was on acid blockers for 10 years. I was on birth control for 20 years. All of these things since I was so young and never knew the impact that these things were having on my body. Never knew to question doctors. You know, you just put your health in the doctor's hands and I'll be on Prilosec and omeprazole for the rest of my life. Well, it wasn't until I went down this journey and started caring about what I put in my body. And it started with the simple things. I was eating chips and dip after work. I started eating vegetables and dip instead. It was like the little baby steps of just the things you know are like the least healthy thing that you're doing. So it was like, okay, stop eating desserts, stop eating the chips. It was like the obvious things, going out for pizza. And then that led to, it kind of started the rabbit hole of learning more about foods. It actually all started with Lent one year. And it was the year before I broke up with the guy and kicked him out. I gave up dairy for Lent because ever since I was 16, I thought I was lactose intolerant. Always thought I had problems with dairy, suspected it was dairy. In college, I was on the soy milk. Ugh, I would never, ever encourage anybody to. We didn't even have almond milk or coconut milk or any other options back then. Mm-hmm. God only knows what that did to my hormones. Anyways, like I said, I could digress a lot, but that started the whole trajectory. I gave up dairy for Lent and my skin cleared up. My mood improved. I lost weight. None of this was on purpose. It was just what I called happy side effects back then. And people were complimenting me. It was things I wouldn't even notice myself until somebody else said something. And then that's what got me thinking about, okay, maybe there's something to this. And I didn't even do it that year. It was the following year that I did it again. I gave up dairy for Lent again and decided to get more serious about it. So I started reading labels. And that's really when the seed was planted. Because I discovered just how many things are made with dairy. If you're trying to avoid dairy, good luck. It's inevitable. But then I started to notice how long these ingredients lists were on these products and things I didn't know what they were, these long names. And I was like, what am I eating? Naturally, taking the dairy out meant all baked goods were out because everything bread and related items were all made with dairy. I wasn't trying to avoid bread yet, but it just came along with the dairy. And at the time, what's interesting, because I'm a coffee lover, I gave up coffee at that time as well, because I couldn't have my coffee without cream and sugar. So that was out. So it was this was my time of experiencing what real food was like without adding sauce and cheese and cream and all the things all over it. So I actually learned to really appreciate food for what it is, for how it tastes without stuff all over it. And that kind of started everything. From there, I really didn't want to put those things back in my body because I realized how good I felt without them. And so the next logical step there, somebody mentions the word paleo to me. Oh, are you eating paleo? Because I was ordering meat and vegetables, and they just assumed I had never heard of it. So then I go down the Google rabbit hole and learn all about paleo and primal. And as I start reading more and more, I decide to officially go paleo. And the biggest thing then was I removed the legumes because I was living on hummus at the time. I was like the typical, what do we all do as women until we learn the value of when we want to lose weight or we want to get healthy, we cut out the protein, which is the last thing we should be doing. I'll never forget, I had a close friend at work at the time, it's like 2013, and she was prepping for her wedding, and she was a CrossFitter, and she was counting macros. And she said to me, and at the time, I was under 100 pounds. This is how small I got. So I've been on one side to the other. So I lost the initial weight, and I kept losing, and I don't even know how much I weighed, only that I stepped on a scale, an old school scale in the gym that had the little sliders, and that it was broken. And that when it went to the 100, it was too heavy. And I don't know what the other number was, but I know that I was under 100 pounds. And truly, when I look back at pictures from that time, it's scary to me. And it was scary to people who knew me, and they pointed it out. But I'll tell you, because I was eliminating things, and boy, let me tell you, there are some women I've experienced lately in my communities who are struggling right now with eating enough. And there's a coupling of the, I feel so good, I don't feel like I need to eat. And then it's coupled with, I'm afraid to put on weight. And I think when I was there, that's truly what was going on there. I felt so good not eating because I had so many reactions to food, and I didn't understand that that's what was going on. But I recognized that when I eliminated these things, I felt so good, and I was avoiding eating. And then when I did eat, it wouldn't be much. And I really wasn't eating enough protein at the time. So my friend mentions that I had a salad. I used to eat a salad every single day for years. Every day I was the girl with the salad and the hummus. There was no protein involved. And she was like, wait a minute, you have 3 fats, because I had like avocado and nuts and olive oil dressing and blueberries and then the greens. And she's like, and there's no protein. And I was like, what are you talking about? What's that? I didn't know what a macro was, which is crazy because now that's what I teach. Mm-hmm. So, needless to say, that luckily was short-lived. After another year, it wasn't even another year, I started focusing on protein. And I don't know if it was her or what put that bug in my ear, but going down the rabbit hole more and more, started adding protein to my breakfast, and then started adding protein to the salad. And then slowly but surely, I started seeing muscles that I never had before. I had switched at the time when I first got back into fitness. I was not lifting weights yet. I was taking pole dance fitness classes. Dancer, right? I wanted to be in the dance studio. I was lifting my body weight regularly. I developed abs. All of a sudden, I had this 6-pack. I had muscles in my arms. Like, as a dancer, I always had strong legs, but I always had thick legs, and I never was lean enough to have a 6-pack. And it was a Whole30. It was the first time I'd ever done a Whole30. And that was kind of the next step, was like, okay, let me learn this Whole30 protocol, which was, I have to say, absolutely critical to the mindset side of things. Thinking about, because I didn't even know the numbers yet. I wasn't tracking macros yet. It was about how to compose the plate, how to think about food. And at the time, I was still really attached to the sweets. So although I had gone paleo, I was living on Lara bars and I was making dates wrapped in bacon dipped in chocolate with almond butter. I mean, it was just all the ways that I could get around, having this healthy lifestyle, but incorporating sweets. And so Whole30 really helped me break that pattern and that attachment to the sweets, and not recreating foods for the pure mental, emotional side of it. So that kind of like stepped me into the next phase. And then when I got this physique, happy side effect, people started mentioning bodybuilding or asked me if I competed. And once again, it was like, what is that? Where do I go? And I learned about bikini competitions, and I hadn't taken the leap yet, but it planted the seed. So as I continue to go on my journey, I broke my thumb teaching a pole class. That's more of a thumbs down. But I broke my thumb teaching a pole class. I had to leave the studio, and I wasn't active, stopped being active, and I started binging. And I put on some weight. And that was the thing. And I will always be the first to say that, ladies, it is okay to have vanity goals. We do not have to feel bad about wanting to look good in our bodies, because wanting the aesthetic goal, wanting to lose that weight again and get that physique that I stumbled upon before is really what led me into keto and led me ultimately into carnivore. Putting on 20 pounds and eating the junk again and feeling like garbage again put back in my mind, okay, I remember how good I felt on paleo, and it was about clean, real, whole foods. And I remember how amazing I felt and looked and the confidence I had in my body, and I want to get back to that. So I hired a coach to get on stage. That was my carrot. And so many women do that with bikini competitions. And I will definitely get to some of my advice because if I could give myself advice at the time, I would have said, spend a year lifting weights and building muscle before you focus on the fat loss. Because you'll just waste away to nothing. And then I ended up in a loop for years competing with this on season, dialed in, and then off season binging. And it was a nasty cycle. So all that to say, that's what landed me in keto. I went to a Paleo FX conference that year. I met someone who I would consider somebody I look up to in the space now, Menno Henselmans, who is a pro bodybuilder, fitness model, and statistician who has a whole company doing lab work, doing studies. He's on that side of things now, and certifies trainers, has a whole certification program of his own. I got to meet him at Paleo FX that year and corner him because I was just getting started in my competition journey, and asked him about, how he would recommend I do this. Because I said, look, I understand the importance of healthy fats, especially for female hormones. I'm working with this coach. They had me on a traditional plan. It was a 40-40-20. You do this high protein, high carb, low fat. After 5 weeks, I got so sick. I was in bed with the flu, didn't recover. It was nasty. I did not get on stage that year. So I asked him his advice, and he recommended keto. He's like, well, if you want to do it that way, this is what I would recommend. And then I found the best people I could have found to lead me through that journey at the time, and it's Keto Gains. I don't know if you've ever heard of Keto Gains, but Luis Villasenor and Tyler Cartwright, incredible group, who taught me how to do things right. And it aligned with everything I believed about food. They are also primal health coaches. They come from the paleo space. So it's all about clean, real food, keto, and lifting weights properly and getting enough protein and not falling into the trap of low protein and fear of protein. So I'm grateful they took me under their wing, and I really learned from them through that period of time. And then I ended up working for them for a couple of years as a coach, and that's where I honed my skills as a coach in their boot camp. So it was fast forward 2021 when I finally launched my brand out of nowhere. It was like the world was opening up again slowly, and there was a keto event out in Vegas. And I decided at the last minute to take my friend up on, we were going to share a booth, and she couldn't make it. And she gave me her booth. And then I had nothing. I had no brand. I had no marketing materials. I had my old website, and I just put this whole keto bikini body brand together and flew out to Vegas and printed everything up and on a whim, right? Scared to death. I happened to meet a really amazing man out there named Coach Bronson Dant, and the rest is history. We've been together over 2.5 years now, and both of our businesses absolutely wouldn't be where they are without the other person. We have truly been the other side, and so let me just say that man is the reason why I went carnivore. I had dabbled in carnivore for my competition preps, particularly at the end when I was getting into peak week and getting ready for stage. Typical bodybuilders do cut down on vegetables toward the end of a prep. It's very well known that they bloat you and they cause gas and they cause distension and they cause all the things you don't want to have when you are presenting your physique on stage. So I had already dabbled in that. Granted, most bodybuilders are not going to use carnivore, but they do go very low carb and they do cut out so many of the bloating vegetables. So that was something that I was already keto. All I was really eating was fibers, veggies, aside from my meats. So when I would get ready, the last couple of shows, or my best couple of shows, is when I cut absolutely everything out except for steaks, pretty much right at the end. Even eggs would go. And so knowing that, I kind of was curious about it. And then carnivore was starting to gain some more traction. And then when I met Bronson, I would be traveling back and forth. I was living in Georgia at the time, and he was in Maryland. So every couple of weeks I'd be in Georgia, every couple of weeks I'd be with him. And so I just decided, you know what, while I'm here, I'll just go carnivore when I'm with him because it's easier. He doesn't have the stuff. I'm not going to go and buy vegetables and cook them. And that was probably when I realized how much simpler life can be on a day-to-day basis. Oh my gosh, it just makes everything so much easier. I used to spend all day Sunday meal prepping, and it wouldn't be the meats that take the longest. It would be all the other stuff. And so I just discovered how simple life could be enjoyable. I was surprised at because I thought, oh my God, I love vegetables. Like, how could I ever give up my salads? How could I ever give up? But I felt a million times better. It made reaching my aesthetic goals each year for competition so much easier. It just takes out all these variables. You have a solid baseline to go off of. And then any changes, and this is the key with bodybuilding, any little changes in your body, you have to be an investigator. You need to know what is happening with your body at any given time, particularly that last week and the day of the show. You need to know if you do anything out of the ordinary, how it might impact your body. And carnivore makes that a breeze. I will say, so this was 2021. I was kind of ketovore. I was like dipping my toe in carnivore. And then 2022, early 2022 is when I moved in with Bronson and just decided, okay, let's just go carnivore. Let's do this thing. So I will say these days, and even from then, I had a stint where I was purely carnivore, with coffee. We both went Lion 1 month, not even a whole month, 21 days in 2023. Tested it out. It was the only time I didn't do coffee. So nowadays I'm mostly, I don't know, 90% carnivore. I have still dabbled and gone back and forth with different levels of carbs, ketogenic levels of carbs. I worked with a coach last year who we tried getting my carbs all the way up to 100 with the cleanest, safest, I would say, for my body, knowing my body, forms of carbs. And I certainly didn't love the way I felt. Probably once I got above 70, it was just like, this is uncomfortable. So I found my way back down, and now I'm hanging out ketovore kind of territory. And this is how I really enjoy living. I will say that my last prep, 2022, I was on prep most of the year. It was my second or third pro show, and it was the best prep I have ever had. Not only from a perspective of the process and my body, but especially the way I felt, my energy levels. Even coming into the show, I was not moody. I was not tired. I wasn't experiencing what most competitors experience during that time. And then I had my most successful reverse out of a show into my off season and into my building season than I ever have before. And the biggest thing being not stuck in that disordered eating loop. So all that to say, man, the way this lifestyle, the way that it improves absolutely everything, mental, physical, emotional, all emotional if you're willing to go there, because you can still absolutely keep that bottled up if you try. But if you're willing and you're open, this can be the gateway. This lifestyle can be the gateway to everything, to your optimal health. And so that's where we're at today. I'm a full-time coach. I left the 9-to-5 way back in 2020. And then I left Keto Gains at the end of 2022, I believe. Keto Bikini Body is alive and well. Keto Bikini Academy opened up this January after doing some group programs, summer shred, a fall build program. Didn't want to let my ladies go. They didn't want to leave. So we created the Academy, which is a membership that you can join and stay in as long as you want. So we never have to leave. And then we still do our group programs that are limited time programs from time to time. Right now, we're in the middle of a prep for summer program, which is titled because we're doing it like a prep. That's the way I've always run my coaching, is everything we do in bodybuilding, I apply that to lifestyle clients. The grand majority of my clients are not competitors, but we do the same exact principles because everything we're about is principles over protocols. I'm stealing that from Coach Bronson. But it's not about doing everything the way Coach Nat does it, because everybody is unique and bio-individuality really rules. So we meet women where they're at. You can come in, you can be on the higher end of the low carb spectrum. You can be gluten-free, you can be paleo, you can be keto, you can be carnivore, anything in between. We meet you where you are and we help you find your way. The biggest thing being what is sustainable for you, what you can stick to, so you're not on again and off again all the time, and in a way that you can actually change the shape of your body, not just lose a bunch of weight along with a bunch of muscle, find yourself skinny fat, carrying around a bunch of extra skin, and still unhappy with the way you look in pictures and feel in your clothing. So we're all about building muscle, eating enough protein, and whatever your brand of low carb, we teach you how to do it right, not relying on the processed packaged garbage that got you where you are, not relying on the habits that got you where you are, and not relying on the thinking that got you where you are. So when you're ready to do the work, you can come in the academy and completely change your life and your body at the same time.
Yeah. I just wanted to let you know that I appreciate, because I met Bronson first, but he introduced me to you. So I really appreciate you. And I appreciate your approach to things. And now that I know your history, because I didn't know that, I didn't know all the parts about the bulimia and that you binge, because I didn't have bulimia, but I was definitely a binge. And then I would like starve myself, right? Which is almost the same type of cycle that you're talking
That's
about.
what leads to the binges.
Right. Yep. And so, but I've watched a lot of your live streams on your channel, and I appreciate them so much because of what you just said. Like, you're combining the mental work of it, but with the physical work. And the way that you can relate, I think, to women is very powerful. Like, I find myself, sucked in and watching and just like hanging. And even when I interviewed you, you gave me some like fantastic advice. Like you said, you met me right where I was and you're like, girl, just do the workout first. I'm like, yeah, just do the workout first.
You keep doing that?
Yeah. I got sick. I did get a fever, but I'm going to get back at it. But yeah, I did do that several times before. And it does. It like totally switched my mental outlook on doing my workout. And so I just wanted to let you know that I appreciate that you work with women. Why do you think you focus in on women, and that's why I think you're good at it. But why did you choose to make that the focus of your coaching?
Oh boy. Well, first it's very simple. we could probably all count on one hand how many men have ever asked for help. From anyone ever for anything, right? Directions, assistance, right? Admitting that they need help. So first, it's a funny story because my first ever paying client was a man. He signed up for a year and he really got my business off of the ground. And Jeff knows who he is, and he always has a place with me. He will always be welcome back. He will be my token guy. But for one, I went to women's college, and in a women's college, I discovered the power of an all-female environment. And then I discovered it even more when I got out of that environment and I experienced what being in the world with men was like all over again, and how starkly different it was from my single-sex education experience. So that kind of formed within me always a desire to do things for women. And it always kind of kept that in the back of my mind. Then I worked in the arts for 15 years in artsรื่อง, which was a highly female-dominated industry. I worked with mostly women, except for our IT and our finance departments. And then I actually founded a women's giving circle. That was my main role right before I left that job. So it was always about how can I serve women and what can I do for women? Naturally, I attracted women as my clients because the women who were interested in working with me were inspired by what they saw, right? Me sharing my story, I'm sure it's the same with all of you, right? You attract people who are like-minded, who are similar to you, who see themselves in you. So naturally, I was attracting women who reminded me of myself always. And then when I decided, okay, I actually I want this to be entirely women. When I decided to open my Facebook group and then create the group programs that I created, I see the way women interact in different open discussion groups, open groups on Facebook and different places. And it's a different interaction. There's a level of safety and vulnerability that we have when women are in a female-only space. So that I've protected from day one in the Facebook group. I've never even really had to boot anyone, maybe one or two over the years. But I haven't had to do a lot of moderating in the group. The concept has always been that anything is welcome here. You will not be berated. You will not be put down. You will not be judged or criticized, which things I've seen in other groups, right, that I didn't want mine to be. And then inside the actual group programs, there was a especially when we had smaller groups, there was just such an incredible vulnerability and authenticity and a willingness to put themselves out there. And then when one did, another would, and another would. And then we created this sisterhood. And so they truly feel supported by one another and not just me. And that was the whole reason why I wanted to have a group environment, because for years I just did one-on-one work. It's so much easier to work one-on-one because I love to get into the nuts and bolts of what's going on and what's happening in your head. And that's amazing, but I can't serve that many people doing that. And it's the highest price point, right? Because there's a lot of access and there's a lot of my time. And so it grew out of a desire to work with more women and to create a space where they could get community and support from more than just me. And it's probably the number one thing I'm the most proud of in my business is not even just the paid programs, but like the free groups, because the environment there is truly different.
We do have a question here from Rachel. It says, I really want to try physique bodybuilding one day. I started the process back in 2019 when I was working out 2 a day and 6 small meals. Stopped in 2020. Now I really want to try it once I control my hypothyroid and Hashimoto's. Now that I know that I have that, sorry. I have the same question. I have thyroid issues and stuff like that too. And I wonder, do we have to heal that first before we can go into something like what you're doing? Or is that all part of the process?
Oh boy. Okay. So a couple of things. Thyroid for one, if you're medicated, there is a lot you can do. A lot of the time I see that thyroid issues can feel like this life sentence, can feel like this limiting factor. That is when you have not figured out yet what you need to support your thyroid, then for that period of time when you're working through that, you do need to work through that and discover, what it is that you need. I have women in my groups now who are hypothyroid, who are medicated. My coach is on thyroid medication. And when you can truly, okay, so she just got prescribed. Yeah. So when you and I would give it some time to make sure that you know your body, because I will tell you, 2 of my ladies who know their bodies very well. One is my coach. Another is actually a trainer. She has her certification. And she worked with me one-on-one for quite a while as well. But both of them are so well in tune with their bodies that they know when something is off. And I have actually quite a few more ladies who also are on thyroid meds. And they know, and they're able, and this is another cool thing, like this just came up in the group. So they were able to help each other out too, because although I know something about it, I know enough to be dangerous, I'm not a thyroid expert. But we have ladies who have been there or are there and are managing it in the trenches that can share their experiences as well. And the key is, if you have figured out your body to the point where my coach in there, she knows when to say to her doctor, ooh, okay, no, I don't want to, like, he'll want to push and like increase the dosage because he loves chasing. Look, y'all, these functional doctors love chasing after the perfect numbers. They want to get you into the perfect range, right? This ideal range that you're not going to get from your traditional doctors, right? And that's cool, but we need to know our bodies. We need to know, oh, okay, this is a little off, so maybe we don't need to go that far. So you absolutely, even with functional doctors, you need to still manage and own your own journey. It says that under my name, be the CEO of your body and your journey. That's what we teach, right? So if you know your cues well enough and truly competing, that's what it comes down to, because you can work with a coach. And I see this all the time in the groups, in the competition groups. I get this, I get that, I'm given this, I'm given that. All they ever do is do whatever. There is no like awareness of their own bodies. And I always tell my comp prep clients, I'm not there with you, right? The day before the day of the show, I'm going to do my best to be with you for the show in person. But you live with your body every day. And leading up to the show and the coaches I've worked with, I'm sending them pictures multiple times a day for them to see what I look like. But I'm looking at my body, and in the mirror, I can see at any moment of the day that I want. And it's not just the seeing, but it's the feeling, right? So you've got to get to know your body very well and to know when you're on, found the right dosage for you. And at that point, that medication is helping your thyroid do what it needs to do. So you are now not in a hypothyroid state. So at that point, you absolutely can do things that may have caused the problem if you weren't on the medication, for example. And as much as I am all about natural, we also need to recognize that sometimes when we have a disorder, when we have a condition, we still need medication. And it would be amazing and wonderful if you can get off that medication one day. But in the process, use it for what it's there for. But what I will say is this, because there has to be a caveat. Bodybuilding, to a point, helps improve your health and human performance. And then you turn a corner. Getting to stage will take you out of optimization and can become very dangerous. It is not a health sport. The pre-prep and the preparation for competing, the building season, the pre-prep phase, if you have a lot of body fat to lose, those are going to get you healthier. When you get into that 12-week out cut for stage, and even closer, that 8-week out cut for stage, this is where you are now taking your body to an extreme level. Think about it like being an NFL player or an NBA player. When they're in season, it is no longer about, and at least in those sports, they're performance sports, you have to be able to perform. Bodybuilding is an aesthetic sport. It is about making your body look a certain way. It is not about what you're capable of doing on a day-to-day basis. And many of these bodybuilders get to stage feeling completely wrecked. Now, I went the keto carnivore route because I wanted to do it as healthy as humanly possible. And I can say that I have now had multiple shows where I did not lose my cycle. I had it right up until the show, never lost it. After the show, still had it. Beautiful. But in general, getting to such low levels of body fat is not a healthy place to be. And we actually have to reverse out of that very quickly. And so if you are hypothyroid, do not be fooled. Even if you're on medication, that end part of that process is going to likely to cause problems that you are then going to have to spend time improving again after the fact. So ideally, going into a prep, you want to be in the absolute best shape and best health of your life, to the point where you want to get blood work, you want to see how your hormones, particularly your hormones, are doing before you get started, and make sure that everything's good. Because if you have something that needs to be addressed, you can bodybuild. You can be a bodybuilder without competing. If you are working on building your body, if you are resistance training, strength training to build muscle, and eating to support that, meaning eating enough fuel, eating enough protein to recover, and you're focused on training and recovery, you are a bodybuilder. Congratulations, right? The stage will always be there. So probably another reason why I work with 99% not competitors. Women who aspire to maybe compete one day, but not in a prep right now.
I love that you're getting people to work so hard to like a really big level, because I constantly get these comments of like, you're good now. Why do you want to keep going? Because I do, because I want to be to this optimal thing. And people seem like that. They call me obsessive, or they call me whatever. But so this kind of makes my heart pump. You make my heart pump. I was listening to some of your stuff too. Well, I was on the TV show, The Biggest Loser. And at our finale, the people were wrecked. They were absolutely wrecked. And there was no blood work being run or anything. And there were people that were like, my partner on the show, his wife was like so concerned that he was going to keel over because he was barely able to walk. And yeah, so, but it would be cool to do that in a healthy way instead. You know, also, I loved your show that you did on the scale, because I've done a lot of different, you know, coaching and different eating disorder stuff. And I always get the opposite from my eating disorder people. They're like, stop obsessing about the scale. I love your approach to the scale.
I like to challenge people on that. Yeah, because the scale is not the problem. Your mind is the problem. The way you're thinking about the scale is just triggering you. I just had this chat with a client today. It wasn't about the scale. It was about something entirely different. You know, struggles with IBS, leading her into these depressive thoughts, leading her into eating. The triggers will be there for the rest of our lives. We will never have a trigger-free life. It could be the scale, it could be the cookies, it could be a comment somebody makes about you, it can be somebody upsetting you about something, it could be a bad diagnosis. You're going to be triggered again. What are you going to do when you get triggered? If the scale is triggering you into eating, it's the exact opposite of the whole point of why you stepped on the scale, right? I'm not making progress, so I'm going to go ruin my progress. We know it doesn't make any logical sense. That's the emotional brain. So is the scale the problem? You can get rid of the scale and your mind is still there and it's still doing that to you on everything else. So it's really just avoiding the problem. I like to say, look, we don't want to live in a world where we have to wear straight jackets and have padded walls. And that's what we're doing when we're saying, well, okay, I have to throw the scale away. I can't look at that anymore. You know, yeah. It's the same thing with, oh boy, I'm about to go.
She's going to go on a rant, you guys.
Go for it.
Let me just say, the carnivore community, boy, I love it. I have a love-hate relationship because I see it all the time. Carnivore healed me. Carnivore fixed me. I don't have any problems with food anymore until I eat anything that's not carnivore, and now I'm binging my face off. Mm-hmm. Well, then carnivore didn't heal you. You're not healed if you cannot handle being around junk food, whatever you want to call it. It's poison. Maybe it's not food, right? But if you can't be around it, if you have to have everything out of your vicinity or else you can't stay carnivore, then you are not healed. I'm not saying you need to eat a cookie every day and only be able to eat one. I'm not going to tell anybody that they need to be eating these terrible things, right? These really unhealthy things. That's that. What is it? The
carnivore police.
You should be able to eat everything in moderation. I wouldn't say that. You know, we don't have to eat junk, but if we cannot handle thinking about it or being in a place where they have that, or, you know, another thing I work with women on is this concept of shrinking our lives. I'm not going to go out to eat with friends because I can't handle being out and not drinking alcohol, or I can't handle being out and not eating the French fries that they're eating, or, you know, when it's all about the food, and that is 100% a mindset problem. And changing the food you're eating is not going to change that for you unless you lean in to the difficult thing and fix the real problem. So the scale is not the real problem. We need to look inward.
I love that so much. I struggled with a lot of mental health disorders, panic attack, depersonalization disorder. I was obese, you know, I didn't leave my house. I had this like fear mindset with every single thing. And I started eating keto, then carnivore. And I felt like all of this, like my bucket that I was able to fill with stress became bigger. And I've always had the mindset that carnivore is, although some people claim that they'll do it for life, to me, it's an elimination diet to remove everything that could possibly be putting me back in life. And it's up to me as a person to say, okay, I'm going to put my big girl panties on and I'm going to be able to go to functions and support other people like family and friends and be around and live a life and not be stuck in like this perfect zone of like, okay, I have my ground beef, I have my eggs and my butter is all stocked up. It's like there's going to be times where you might have to eat something non-carnivore. But I do think that the longer we eat carnivore, it's allowing our gut to heal, and it's allowing us to be able to have this clear mindset and to be able to look into what is triggering for us. What traumas do we have? Like, I can't believe, like, it's going to be a year in May for me, and I can't believe how much like self-therapy, I have a portion on my show, it's like self-talk therapy, where I talk to myself instead of a therapist. And I find that this diet has been able to like get me to that point. And I'm like, I think I'm getting to the place where I will be able to eat non-carnivore foods. And like, I think I'm going to be okay. I'm not going to have that vicious binge cycle. So I'm so glad that you talk about what's important within, like how we view food and how we view ourselves, because like you said, you could fix your diet, but then something bad may happen because life is ups and downs. Like, that is the truth. And then all of a sudden you might be back to square one. So I love that you're putting that emphasis, and I just love what you're doing. This is so cool. I was just curious. So because you went through this long journey of finding, like, first it started with labels, and then now you're keto and carnivore, all the things in between. Why do you think, like, what are some of the benefits of having the perspective of bikini bodybuilding with like your body recomposition and coaching others? I'm curious about why specifically that. I know that you're passionate about it, obviously, but I'm curious.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been thinking for a while. I am a nutritional therapy practitioner. I did that back in 2021. I haven't really done anything with my practice other than being able to make recommendations for supplements for clients. And I just do that with private clients right now. But I've toyed with, and as the business continues to grow, I'm always thinking about what's going to be the next thing, right? Because I easily could have had a gut health business, or emotional eating, or so many like of these specific little niches that I'm passionate about within what I do. I think what really happened was I was living this lifestyle as a competitor. I absolutely love competing. And even though it is not healthy, and every single show, even including my last amazing carnivore show, it's still a roller coaster of emotion. It is really a difficult road getting to stage and then getting out. That post-show period is a real, we call it the post-show blues. You really go through like a low. Imagine getting to this pinnacle with your body that you've never seen before, because the goal with competing is every single time you come to stage better, with a better physique. So you're always seeking to beat your last best. And then having to put body fat on and not slowing the process down. There's a lot of competitors and fitness models out there who stay lean year round, and that is not healthy. And it can be very difficult to get out of that when you've been there. Boy, like I still think back to after my last show, when we did the Lion Diet. I could have just lived there. It felt amazing. It was maybe like 7 pounds above stage weight, not a lot. And it felt like I could just live there forever, but it would not have been a good thing for me to stay there. So I went through the difficult process of putting all that weight on, not that much, but it's not anything like it used to be. It used to be way too much of a swing, but purposely putting weight on and having a real building season. And it was amazing. I say all that to say, I love competing. I want to eventually become a world champion. I don't care how long it takes me to do it. And I'm 41 now. If I'm in my 50s when I do it, I'll be even prouder to do it later in life. So this is something that I'm going to be doing for the foreseeable future. And as I was, we all are finding our way online and putting content out and finding our identity. I kept fighting against the bikini thing. It was like, but I know so much about gut health, and I want to talk about gut health, and I know so much about like all these little things, right? It could have been a business about any of them. I could have been a food blogger. Sometimes I kick myself for not doing that because, boy, it is amazing. Some of the people I envy out there who are doing amazing with cookbooks. And my girl, shout out to Courtney Luna, who is like, just so amazing to see where she has taken this thing. But I was fighting against the brand, the bikini brand. I really didn't want to be known for that because it was like, you get judged and you get pigeonholed into being this dumb bikini competitor, and all you know about is all you care about is your body and what you look like. And it was all of that kind of crap. And you know what that is? It's pure crap. It's just perceptions of what other people are even seeing. And so it was when I decided to go out to Vegas that year and create this brand, I was like, you know what? This is what I do. This is my life. Why not lean into it? And I've had some amazing business coaches over the years, and people in the fitness space and the coaching space who always affirmed this vision I had and this brand I could have. And it was, I had to get out of my own way. Like we always talk about being in our own way with health and fitness, right? I had to get out of my own way with just allowing that to be the brand. I said, you know what? That's how I'm gonna attract women who are where I was and needed a me back then, right? Those women are out there chasing after the aesthetic, and hell, I'll bring them in and then I'll educate them. They don't need to come in knowing what they need. I know what they need, and I can teach them what they need when they get here. But let me just put out the bikini thing and throw the net out wide, and then let them come in, and then we'll do what we do. And that's ultimately what we've done. So I'm glad that I leaned in and I stopped fearing allowing that being my persona, because I'm much more than a body in a bikini. And my ladies know that now. We delve into the mindset, we delve into all of that. And so anybody out there who's building a brand, just lean into who you are and what you're about, and let it go, whatever's in your mind about what people might think about it. The beauty is I have no trolls. And maybe it's just that I have not made it, right? Hundreds of followers. And I'm sure once that happens, I'm going to put that in the universe that'll happen. Once that happens, I'm sure there will be some trolls that come out of the woodwork.
They'll come.
But also, I could say, because I am a powerful manifester. And I will say this, if I don't want trolls in my world, there will be no trolls in my world, because trolls do not need to exist in my space. And I believe that it's because I've cultivated an energy with what I put out in the world that is very difficult to troll. So let them try, but we don't do trolling over here. We got the good vibes.
Well, hey, Coach Nat, we have a meaty wheel that we like to spin. It kind of gives you a random question. Are you up for that?
Ooh.
She sounds up for it, you guys.
It's fun.
Let's do it. Okay, so this is our Lioness Lifestyle wheel. I'm going to spin it, and we're going to hunt down a question. All right, here's the meaty question we hunted down for you. What is your current favorite meal, and how often do you eat it? Do you get bored, Coach Nat?
Oh boy. This morning I brought back my ground spring lamb and eggs. I eat my sloppy, creamy scrambled eggs every single day. I don't even know how long I've been doing it, but every single day, at least for the last 365 days. And usually it's with lamb. It's either lamb leg that I slow cooked in the crock pot and then pulled out and flash fried in the pan. Or it's ground lamb, and I get this amazing spring lamb from Costco, y'all. Of all places, it's the best ground lamb. And I brought it back out because I've been doing top round steak and eggs every morning lately. I got like a ton of that from Costco, so I've just been doing that every day. And I really missed my lamb. So I brought the lamb back today, and I probably would not ever get bored with that. I don't get bored because I rotate my food. So I have all my favorites, and then some of them are every day, and some of them are just a few times a week. But there's always a rotation. So I really don't get bored.
That's fantastic.
Right.
I would love to show everyone your channel and to tell everyone, please go over to Coach Nat's channel. It's Keto Bikini Secret. She's also on Facebook. She's on Instagram, right? Like what else do you have here? You have a website, you have a free Facebook group, and you always go live with your masterclass. And I think that you have an amazing talent at figuring out exactly what people need to hear so that they can begin their journey to better health. And so I'm so glad that you have joined us tonight. And everyone, please go subscribe and support her. And that way she can help more people. And thanks so much.
So grateful to you, ladies. Oh my gosh. And I can't wait to go stalk all of you.
Yay!
Yes.
I'm just saying, and it'll probably be a different answer than when you hear all the time, because I was watching your channel and I was sitting here going, yes, she gets me. She gets me. Yes.
Adrian, I can't wait to watch your episode. I'm going to go back and watch yours from last week because I want to hear your story. And then I want to go stalk all your Biggest Loser stuff and see how that went. I'm geeked. And Ellie, I can't wait. I'm coming for you too. I'm going to holler at you.
Yay!
And I love that artwork behind you, by the way. That is really
Thank
cool.
you. I painted it.
Is that you? Is that a self-portrait?
You know, it's so funny that when I was painting it wasn't supposed to be me, but I think that it ended up being who I was supposed to be. He like kind of looks like tiger stripes, and you think that's I don't know. That's just me though. We don't have time to get into that today, but
It totally does.
fun.
It totally does.
I was going to ask Adrian if she wanted to count us down to the roar. Adrian, how about it?
Do I just say 1, 2, 3, roar?
Yeah. or 3, 2, 1, roar. Or it's
okay. 3, 2, 1, roar.
Roars in the chat. Put them in the chat.
Come on, I want to see them.
I know. There we go. Scott is not going to let me down. There we go, Scott. And Karen coming in with a roar. Love it. Yes, Mike, with the RAWR roar. Thank you, Mike. And I'm so glad Eric is here. Eric, we wouldn't have said picanha without you tonight. So thank you. Picanha is my favorite. I converted Adrian as well.
I could eat it for every meal.
Yes, it's so good. I don't get bored of picanha. Gail's roaring out. And Rachel, thanks, Rachel, for the roar. And Susan. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next week. We'll have another awesome guest for you next Tuesday, guys. Bye.
Bye. Love you so much.